Now let's look into each of these three dimensions individually. Okay, let's try to understand them a little bit more better. So I think that you will all agree with me that the originator of the importance of class in sociology, in social sciences in general, was Karl Marx. He emphasized the role of economic factors in determining social ranking. He identified two basic social classes that are distinguished by their relationship to the property. Now, you should remember this from the previous classes. Marx was talking of two major social classes. One, which is the dominant one, and these are the people who own the means of production. These are the capitalists. And the subordinate class, the powerless, the proletariat, are the ones who don't own anything but their labor. All right, so they don't own any property. They're not making much money. Okay, all they do is they just, come and work for some bourgeoisie, for some capitalist. Okay, so there is an inherent division between the people based on whether they are the powerful or the powerless, whether they are the capitalists or the proletariat. In a capitalist society, the proletariat are forced to sell their labor to those who own the means of production. However, modern-day critics of Karl Marx's writings, they say that the modern-day economic system, the modern-day societies are not the same as they used to be sometime in the 19th century. In the 19th century, it was very easy to basically divide all the people into two categories, either the capitalists or the proletarians. But today, in the modern-day capitalist societies, you have more than two classes. That's because the societies nowadays are much more complicated, are much more complex, thanks to the division of labor, thanks to the existence of organic and mechanic solidarity, thanks to the Gemeinschaft and the Gesellschaft societies, which we mentioned in the previous classes. Okay, so at least we have three classes nowadays. The lower class, the proletarians, the middle class, okay, and the upper class, the capitalists, all right? Because of this, some critics of Karl Marx are saying that these theories developed by Marx are no longer applicable to understanding the modern day societies. Status, second dimension of stratification. Although Max Weber didn't ignore the special significance that Marx attributed to property and economic factors, Weber believed that stratification was based on prestige and power, as well as on economic factors. All right, so you shouldn't really forget about the importance of prestige and power. Okay, you shouldn't really underestimate the importance of these variables. Whereas one's class position is determined by the wealth and income, Weber argued, one's status is based on prestige that is attached to the position that people occupy in the society. Remember the example I provided earlier, the Aksakals in Kazakhstan, right? These are not the capitalists. These are not the bourgeoisie, right? These are not the owners of the means of production, by no means. Okay, but what makes these people really special is that they are respected. They enjoy some very high status in this society. Everybody respects them. Everybody, pays close attention to their opinion. Status, therefore, according to Weber, refers to groups of people who share similar life chances resulting from social estimation of honor and prestige. Finally, the last dimension is the power dimension. It refers to the ability to get others do what you want them to do, even despite their own wishes. The nature and distribution of power and the struggle among the groups for power have been the central concern for sociologists. There are situations in a society in which those wielding the greatest power in a society do not necessarily possess great economic resources or prestige. All right? Thus, power is a crucial part of any system of social inequality. Think of some capitalists in the modern day American society. They're not politicians. They're not celebrities. They're not aksakals or something like that. But they're so rich. They own so many, factories. They own so many firms, they own so many media outlets that they can shape the public opinion. They can influence the politics. They can influence the decision making in the government. All right? So this is what we mean by this, the last dimension of stratification, power. Okay? So keep these 3 dimensions in mind when we're talking about age, gender, racial stratification, and other types of stratification during this course. And now let's talk about how do people justify living in very unequal societies. How do people, in other words, live with the inequalities? I mean, if it was for me, I wouldn't be really happy living in a society which is highly unequal. I wouldn't be happy living in a society where there is no such a thing as social justice, social fairness, okay, equality, and stuff like that. So, however, we see that there are lots of societies in the world which are extremely unequal. All right? Now, people, of course, may choose to emigrate from those countries, to leave them, to abandon those societies. But most of the people, they can't afford to just leave their country and move on somewhere where they would have better representation, more rights, they would be treated equally by the government, and so on and so forth. So the next series of slides, they deal with the theories on how do people justify the inequalities. Stratification systems are systems of inequality, and now you know this. And it's important that the majority of people accept this inequality. If people don't accept this inequality, one thing could happen for sure. People would start protesting. People would start throwing stones at the governmental buildings. People will start clashing with the police. People will start to demand some radical changes. All right? So what the government should do is they have to persuade the society, both the powerful and the powerless, that the existing society is just, it is equal, it is egalitarian, and any existing inequalities will soon be resolved. Now, only if people buy this argument will they be tolerant, will they experience, and will they live through the inequalities in their lives. Stratification system, in other words, usually has an ideology. Without an ideology, people would have no sense, they would have no point in tolerating the inequalities. So what is an ideology? It's a set of ideas that explain the reality, provide directives for behavior, and express the interests of particular groups. An ideology basically gives you answers to the questions which bother you. So one of the questions that would probably bother some of the poor people in Kazakhstan is, when will I become rich? When will I be secure of my future? When my children will be happy? Okay, will my children be able to go and study in the best schools of the world? Okay, these are the questions that bother some of the powerless people in the society. Now, if people share and believe the ideology which is being reinforced by the government and which sounds like, in the next couple of years, government of Kazakhstan will fight with unemployment, it will eradicate poverty, it will warrant, accessible education, free education for all, it will ensure high quality education. All right, this is the ideology. This is how the state ideology sounds like. Now, if the people, the poor, especially the people who suffer from the inequalities, if these people buy this ideology, if they believe in this ideology, then the existing system of inequalities will exist forever. An ideology, in other words, is used to legitimize and justify the existing social order and to maintain the inequalities in wealth, power, and the prestige. For instance, one of the ways that men justify their dominance in our society would be to say that, well, Kazakhstan is a very traditional society, it's an Eastern society, we have some Asian mentality, Asian mindset, blah, blah, blah. And because of this, women should, and some even say that they must, occupy an inferior position in the society. All right, so you see, this is yet another ideology which says that women are, subordinates. Women are followers rather than the leaders. And this particular idea, if believed in, if shared by all the people in the society, will ensure that the women will never have equal rights with the men. You see? So this is about gender stratification, which we will discuss in future classes. Different stratification systems have developed different kinds of ideologies, which may include religious, political, economic, or even scientific elements. For instance, in the Soviet Union, there was an ideology which says that there is only one social class, and it is the workers' class. Okay? According to this ideology, you could not own private property, because private property will make you greedy, it will make you rich, it will make you very exploitative, and so on and so forth. Because of this, the communist ideology, and its purpose was to eradicate the people who tried to stand out from the crowd. It was trying to fight with private property. It was trying to prevent people from owning private property. You see, this is yet another example of how political ideologies like communism may equalize all the people.